And welcome back to our special election coverage. We're coming to you live from Washington, D.C. this morning. Let's bring in Anna Navarro. She's a Republican strategist. She was the National Hispanic Chair for the Huntsman and McCain campaigns. Roland Matin is the host of Washington Watch with Roland Matin on TV1. Let's start by talking about the swing states. You saw a moment ago, Christine was walking us through some different scenarios. Should we start with the state of Florida, your state, the state of Florida? We've seen the polls kind of go both ways. Which way it's going to go?
You know, I think it's too close to call. It feels a lot different this year than it did 4 years ago. There's a lot more money. You know, 4 years ago, McCain ran out of money. This year, one of the big differences we're seeing, I think, in all the swing states is that Romney and Obama are fairly evenly matched on the money race. And so we're seeing an avalanche of ads up to the very end. There is money both by President Obama and Mitt Romney for ground game. We're seeing that. We are seeing, I would say, a lot more activity from the Romney camp. It's something that they understand is a must win. But Democrats, President Obama is still fighting it till the very end. He was there yesterday. We had Bill Clinton barnstorming. He could have been running for governor.
So it's a toss-up.
Just a couple of days. It's a toss-up.
How about the state of Ohio? Yeah,
but here's the deal also with Florida, but you also see the effects of voter suppression. You saw the ridiculous long lines in Florida over the weekend. Frankly, Governor Rick Scott should be ashamed for them cutting those early voting days, and also him barring voting on Sunday. That clearly was targeting African-American churches and others who turned out in massive numbers on Sundays. And so turnout is going to be the key. You see the exact same thing happening in Ohio, decisions made by the Secretary of State also that are all about suppressing the vote as well. And so I can hear Republicans say anything they want to, but when you are purposely trying to cut hours and trying to restrict folks, you are trying to impact democracy.
Where do we stand on the early voting? I mean, maybe it's me, but it seems that this year the story of early voting and the long lines is much different than we had in 2008.
Well, early voting is up in general. A lot more people are voting, but the Democrats' edge in early voting isn't as big as it was. The Republicans sort of caught on to the magic of early voting and closed the gap a little. The question is it enough? Is it enough? If you look at a state like Nevada, the president won Nevada by 12%. 4 years ago. This time, his early voting edge is smaller, but he doesn't need to win by 12%. He only needs to win by, one vote.
When you talk about you're going through those swing states, really it's a state of Ohio. Is that true? All roads go through Ohio for the Romney campaign?
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's really critical there. When you look at a lot of the different scenarios, you need again and again for Mitt Romney to take Ohio. There are scenarios, and we'll show you some later on. There are some scenarios where he can win without Ohio, but that takes everything else. That means he's got to get Florida. He's got to get everything else, basically, that's now leaning or a toss-up to make that happen.
Zoraida, what I thought was interesting, we were talking about this earlier, Roland Matin and I actually read an article where Anna was quoted on it, and it's the Latino vote in Ohio that you never talk about. And because this election is so close that we are talking about Latinos in Ohio and how they could potentially impact this vote.
And what I said, Soledad, is if we really want to get immigration done, some of us are going to have to just take it for the cause, put on some coats, and move to Ohio.
And of course, nationally, the problem is President Obama is leading Mitt Romney 50-plus points among Latinos. I'll never forget the GOP debate we saw when they asked the question, what should the GOP do to attract Latinos? And they begin to have a discussion about building a wall. And I'm sitting there going, that's not the answer I think you want to give.
The rhetoric might be a little...
That's true everywhere except in Florida. In Florida, President Obama is in trouble, a lot of trouble, with Cuban Americans. He is not where he was 4 years ago. 4 years ago, he got upwards of 30% of the Cuban American vote. He's got a huge gap this year. If Mitt Romney
but you're moving to Ohio. Put your coat on, right? You're going to
American. You're the Cuban.
My people are from New Jersey. Great, guys. Thank you.
Or Long Island, one of those.
If Mitt Romney wins Florida, he owes it big to the Cubans.
I'm a global citizen. Moving on. Up next.